Hello everyone, I'm Gerges Ayad. I'm a tour guide since 2004. I'd like to serve you whenever you come to Egypt, anywhere in Egypt. You're most welcome. Join us please.
You keep open up your heart to me. Let me in. I love your little lies. I love to watch you sleep. Open up your heart.
So ladies and gentlemen, on the way to Luxor city, you find a lot of unfinished houses. These houses, as you see before you, owned by the farmers, and the farmers sometimes when they don't have enough money to finish the house, they leave the unfinished houses, of course, for their kids. When they grow up afterwards, they can, of course, leave them to build another floor or another apartment above their parents' houses and live above them. So this is the reason why the farmers leave the houses unfinished. Once you get into the Karnak temples, you'll find yourself in the visitor center just before the kiosk where you get the tickets. This is a model for the boat. We call it the bark of the god. They used to keep the statues of the gods inside these barks. One in the front, in our left hand picture now, for the god Horus, and behind it for the god Amun-Ra. The third bark was for the goddess Mut in her temple in a little bit to the south of the Karnak temples area. On the way to the Karnak temples, you cross X-rays for security, and this is the front wall of the Karnak. You can see even in the left hand side of the wall there are a mud wall. This is the ruins of the mud walls, including the whole complex of the Karnak temples, which was the biggest mud wall built around temples. Was about 480 meters wide, 550 meters long, was about 20 meters high and 12 meters thick. This ramp where they used to transport rocks from the lake, so there were roads here. To build the walls, they had to transport the rocks from a mountain called Jabal Silsila near to Aswan city in the south. And there is the harbor, which is in the middle of the Kedar now, which was built to transport the bark of the god Amun-Ra, god Smut and god Horus, down on a bigger boat to the western direction this way to the river Nile. So there were, underneath me while we are walking now, there were a big lake. You find the Sphinx Avenue having a shape of a ram's head, horn is rounded, and you find underneath each chin of the statues of the rams, you find a little figure or a little statue for the king. Probably it's a kind of protection, of course. Probably that was for the kings who built the statues of the Sphinx here. This reminds us with the big Sphinx statue in Giza near to the pyramids, but of course here there were so many of these statues of the rams to represent the god Amun-Ra. Keep watching, guys. I will continue later. After you pass the gate, which is the biggest wall in Egypt, about 113 meters wide, 40 meters high, and 15 meters thick, this you get to the temple of the king Ramses III. On the walls here you find the statues of the king Ramses III in a form of Osiris. And then you find yourself by the shrine. In the right hand side you find that you can go to see, especially in the summertime, the sunbeams come from the top down to light the room there. You can have fantastic pictures like me there. Well, at the same time, while you are in the open courtyard, you can find a huge column. It's about 21 meters high. It was built by the king Taharka, who came from Nubia parts. And then you find also a huge statue. Probably that statue belonged to the king Ramses II, and their princess Bentanat is standing in between the feet of the king, or the feet of the statue. But because the Egyptologists found that the features of the king, of the face of the king, is disappeared, probably it was disfaced because of the water, as this statue was found buried under sand just here in the same area. They found it in the year 1950. So they say this is unknown pharaoh. Maybe it belongs to the king Ramses II, but they found a different name written in there. Probably the workers seized that statue and they put the name of the king Banijim. He was one of the kings of the 21st dynasty. The largest hypostyle hall in the world is built inside the Karnak temples. You find fantastic columns. They have the crowns in a form of an open papyrus crown above the column. The columns here in the middle, they are of 22 meters high above the ground, and the other columns in right and left hand side, they are of 14 meters high. The difference made kinds of windows to light the hall because this was completely roofed. You can find in the left and right hand side a lot of interesting hieroglyphics. Still, some of the colors are preserved. The hardest job have been done in these temples cutting granites, and the nearest mountain of granite is about 260 kilometers in the south of Luxor, where Aswan quarries. This was a base of one obelisk. This is the second obelisk in the same place here, which is about 19 meters high, 130 ton. This is before the biggest obelisk in Egypt were erected by Queen Hatshepsut. This is 29 meters high and 323 tons. Of course, this is the biggest one, but not the biggest one in the world, because the biggest one in the world is in Rome, in St. John's Square in Rome, about 450 tons and about 32 meters high. The sacred lake, one of the most important elements, should be in the Egyptian temples in that time, and it's the only place where the priests used to live around. So they used to live around the sacred lake to purify their bodies before they come and pray inside the temples. شكل الفالكون ده صح؟ فالكون؟ حورس. will be حورس إن شاء الله.